Delmarva Today with Don Rush.
The West Nile virus is detected for the first time in Delaware this year. A TikTok waterman doesn't even have time to take out his boat before it's vandalized. Pennsylvania announces a new $50 million program to clean up its waterways, and the Chamber by the Sea returns for its 9th year. Brian Russo has an exclusive interview with its founder. Welcome to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. But first, we turn to Coastal Point reporter Susan Canfor. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Don.
So, Susan, a Maryland TikTok waterman, Luke McFadden, apparently bought his new dream boat, and by Thursday morning, couldn't even take it out before it had been vandalized. What do we know about this?
Yes, we know that GoFundMe and other fundraisers are being formed to help the waterman Luke McFadden, who gained popularity on TikTok. His new boat was vandalized on Thursday. As police investigated, McFadden's followers have been lending their support to the Pasadena, California native. He's been posting about the incident, saying he saved to buy the vessel, his dream boat, only to find it destroyed. On a TikTok video, he said the boat was docked at Kent Narrows in Maryland, and he had been planning to take it home.
So last night, I bought my dream boat. I was tied up at Kent Narrows, and I owned it for about 10 hours, and I came back this morning to run it home, and somebody destroyed the entire boat overnight. So probably happened between midnight and about 1 o'clock in the morning, but I mean, as you can see, they destroyed everything. They busted the windows out. They took a hammer to the gauges. They ripped all the wires out behind the dash. They stole all the electronics. The radio, they ransacked the place. They busted the windows out. They took a hammer to the window. They tried to steal the dipper, was hanging off. Took a grinder and cut all the hydraulic lines, and they were trying to get the dipper out of there. Destroyed that, took a hammer. If they couldn't steal it, they just destroyed it. Pieces of grinder blade all over the place here. Hope it blew up in their face. What they didn't steal was any of the tools or any of the baskets, because that would require actually working for a freaking living. Somebody's going to be bragging about doing it here, I'm sure, soon. But if anybody knows anything, just reach out to the police. I really appreciate it. I'm pretty bummed out. I mean, this is the boat that I've been wanting for a long time. I've been working hard and saving a lot of money to buy this boat, and I didn't even get to run it. I even had it 10 hours.
There's also a video of two men parking a pickup truck, going down to the boat and staying for about 30 minutes before driving away. McFadden thanked police for conducting a manhunt on the Eastern Shore, and he encouraged his followers to buy crabs from his crab stand in Glen Burnie. And if they have any information about damage to the boat, to please call Natural Resources Police.
So also, Susan, we have calls for Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall-Long to quit the race for governor after an audit found her campaign finances weren't up to snuff. Others apparently have joined that call after the State Department of Elections found a number of improprieties, and the quote is incomplete, inconsistent, and often inaccurate, but broke no laws. What do we know about this so far?
Well, we know Bethany Hall-Long is running for Delaware governor. She's the lieutenant governor now. She's been in the news concerning her financial records, and she's in the news again with a new report. The State Department of Elections found that she and her husband, Dana Long, were paid $33,000 more than they reportedly loaned to her campaigns for election. A report states Hall-Long violated state law from 2016 until 2023 by not disclosing nearly $298,000 in payments to her husband, and her husband was her campaign treasurer. The report also states $266,000 in loans to the campaign went unreported. On Tuesday, Hall-Long issued an email defending herself, but not specifically talking about these financial matters. She wrote in a casual conversation way saying, "Dear supporters, listen, when you are the leading candidate in a race, when you have the endorsements our campaign has earned, and you're an accomplished woman in politics, I know that comes with a target on my back. I entered public service to make a difference for families across our state, and that mission guides me every single day. I care about the issues that keep Delawareans up at night. Do we have enough money for rent? Can we afford child care? Do we have enough money to retire comfortably?" She mentioned her challenger, Matt Meyer, saying he has been attacking her, but that to her, the stakes of this election are just too important. Meyer criticized her, but so far he has not called for her to withdraw from the race. She's also running against a third candidate for the September 10th primary. That's Colin O'Mara. He said he would like a review from an apolitical, independent attorney. How Long vowed to stay focused on the goals, and she said she's going to win and she's going to make a difference. Still, the financial concerns loom overhead. Here's what happened. The state elections commissioner, Anthony Albence, had his office hire a firm to investigate. The investigator was Jeffrey Lempinski. He's a former FBI chief from Philadelphia. After a months-long investigation, Albence reportedly wrote to How Long saying he wasn't going to ask for criminal prosecution. He wasn't going to take the matter before Delaware Attorney General Kathy Jennings to try to have How Long prosecuted. Meantime, WHYY, a public broadcasting station, filed a Freedom of Information Act request to get details of that report. How Long has contended. She released a statement with financial discrepancies in previous campaign finance reports last fall, and she has completely cooperated with Albence's office. She said her family has loaned the campaign more money than it has been reimbursed for, and she will continue to talk about those discrepancies.
So it looks as if it's going to be a tight race. She is the front runner?
She is the front runner. Yes, she is, so far.
Also, Susan, we have former Salisbury City Council member Megan Outen, who apparently has been chosen as a delegate at large for this month's Democratic National Convention. She's been involved in local politics here for some time, including the Wicomico Commission for Women, chair of the Young Democrats of Maryland, and also the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus. Tell us a little bit about her.
You might recall she was on the Salisbury City Council, and she also ran for mayor. She's been chosen for a delegate leadership position at the Democratic National Convention coming up in about 2 weeks. She'll be advocating for residents throughout the Eastern Shore as an at-large delegate representing Maryland. She called this opportunity a core moment for me and many women across the nation who have waited to see a woman in the White House. On Facebook, she posted that she is just thrilled to be selected and that this campaign is about shattering glass ceilings and paving the way for future generations. She said when she ran for office, she wanted more representation for women in politics and that she is really proud to be supporting presumptive Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris. The convention will be on August 19th, start on August 19th, and run through August 22nd in Chicago. Megan Outen has lived in Salisbury all her life. When she was on the city council, she represented District 3. She was appointed in February 2023 after former Councilman Jack Heath stepped down to accept the position of mayor. She graduated from Salisbury University in 2016 and ran for the Wicomico County Council. We talked to her early this week.
There's definitely a new surge of energy that we're seeing here with the upcoming convention. It's exciting to see. I mean, I think coming from someone, both as a woman and from, a younger generation, I think we've definitely needed this push. I'm excited because I think it's going to get some new voters out there who may have felt a little bit disenfranchised in recent years. I'm honestly really hopeful that we're going to see a new surge at the polls. We're going to be seeing some new faces out there getting involved, so that's phenomenal news for us. Do
you see this as a generational change?
Yeah, I'll say this. I don't think that this is unique to the Democratic Party. I think this is a concern the younger generations have voiced on both sides of the aisle, that we need to see younger leaders step up. So I won't say that this is unique for just the Democratic Party at all. Frankly, I've heard this come from both sides of the aisles in conversations that I've had, that there's definitely a drive from this new wave of voters that want to see younger leaders in office. And we're not asking for 30-year-old to run for office, but we would like to see someone who's maybe a bit more in touch with some of the issues that our everyday voters are experiencing.
Recently, there was a rally for Harris, I believe it was in Atlanta, in which you saw a tremendous amount of, there was hip-hop folks, there was a sort of this new generation kind of thing, a current cultural kind of feel to the whole thing. I mean, does that strike you?
Yeah, I feel like the political stage has finally caught up with the modern era, more or less. So I think they're finally kind of moving forward in a way that we need them to. It feels like this election feels like it's actually for 2024.
Turning to the Republicans, how do you see them reacting to the candidate?
Look, I have friends on both sides of the aisle. We've had some really good conversations. I think they're excited to see our new candidate take to the stage. I'm all about healthy competition, so we'll see what this means overall come November.
The Trump folks, though, have taken some pretty sharp shots at Harris.
Look, they can be as critical as they want to be, but I will say our vice president has a track record of delivering for this community, for the people of America. For the last 4 years, she's been able to demonstrate that. So I'm looking forward to voters getting to learn a little bit more about what her track record has been these last couple of years as vice president. So
now, Harris has been emphasizing her time as a prosecutor. We certainly saw that in her initial ads. That was not, though, something that was popular during her run in 2020. What are we to make of that?
Yeah, what I'm most excited about for her, honestly, right now is the fact that she's got a really great rural track record. If you take a look, we've never seen a vice president or a presidential administration deliver as much for the rural communities like we have seen with President Biden and Vice President Harris.
Any favorites for who she should pick as VP?
I think it's going to be a big surprise for all of us. I think we have a great lineup of potential contenders. It really is just going to come down to who she thinks is going to be the best representative for the people of the U.S.
Also recently out and joined the Groundswell podcast at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. On that podcast, there will be discussion about what issues Lower Shore residents are struggling with. She called those involved in the podcast a great group of individuals who are leading the project for their dedication to uplifting communities.
Also, now we've got the Maryland Association of Counties conference that's coming up shortly, as it were. What other priorities that we know of?
The Maryland Association of Counties Summer Conference will be in Ocean City, August 14th through the 17th at the Convention Center in Ocean City. This is a popular event with a couple thousand local, state, and federal government officials attending every year. It's a busy few days. They have educational sessions, informational sessions, guest speakers, a trade show, a crab feast, and meetings. And it ends with a speech by Governor Wes Moore. During the 2024 General Assembly session in Annapolis, MACo officials talked to lawmakers, and they outlined their concerns. They made requests. And among those requests were asking for financial transparency, modernizing local revenue structures, and creating incentives to help recruit firefighters and emergency personnel. Among other priorities are asking that public funds be invested in education, providing counties with tools to meet the evolving needs of communities, and helping with housing shortages by looking at interest rates and financing tools. So we'll be there covering it and certainly covering Governor Moore's speech.
And also, of course, the Millsboro Chamber of Commerce. They've been weighing in on their list of priorities.
About a dozen businessmen and businesswomen joined Delaware lawmakers in Millsboro last week for a discussion about legislation and how it affects businesses. They met at Town Hall in Millsboro, and they heard guest speaker Scott Kidner, a lobbyist for C.S. Kidner Associates, talk about bills they're concerned about. Among them are bills affecting affordable housing. Kidner told me some of the businessmen and businesswomen told him they chose Delaware because of low property tax, but they'd also like to have more municipal services like they had in the larger cities they came from. For example, public trash removal instead of having to pay a private trash company. Other businessmen and businesswomen were concerned about education in Delaware, libraries, emergency services, and police protection. Kidner told me there was also concern about Delaware losing its bipartisan center-right, center-left focus and being increasingly dominated by non-business-oriented legislators. There was concern about finding qualified employees and high employee turnover, and Kidner has some advice for them. He said, stay informed about legislation and call elected officials if you have concerns. Millsboro's Chamber Executive Director Ann Angel told me the legislative meeting was successful and that she'd like to make it an annual event.
And also, finally, here in Wicomico County, the county council is moving ahead with its decision to place a referendum on the ballot to eliminate the county executive position. Understand that the county executive, of course, does not believe that it will be passed. What do we know so far? And it was a unanimous vote.
It was a unanimous vote. During a special legislative session in the Wicomico County Council, by unanimous vote on Tuesday, made some minor changes to language in the county executive referendum resolution. This was after hearing some advice from their attorney, Bob Benson. That language won't change the referendum, but the language is more clear, Benson told them. You might remember that in June, Council approved placing the referendum on the county executive form of government on the November ballot. Councilmember Josh Hastings, who opposed the referendum, still voted for change in the language.
There's some other pieces in here that I think we would at a future date should probably fix that or wordsmith that.
Good point.
And for the record, I obviously still don't believe we should be moving in that direction, but I'm happy to amend this to make sure it gets right to the voters and that it's set if it does move forward.
That was by a 5-2 council vote, with only Councilman James Wynn and Josh Hastings voting no. This is all the result of a rather contentious relationship between the county council and the county executive's office and the council. Giordano has consistently said the measure will fail. But if the referendum passes, the county executive form of government will be done away with, taking effect December 1st, 2026.
And also, Susan, I understand that we do have a suicide bill that's at least before the legislature. What do we know about that? What are the controversies here?
The Delaware Senate has approved the Aid in Dying Death with Dignity bill, and it's now awaiting Governor John Carney's signature. It passed the state Senate narrowly by an 11-10 vote, days after the Senate failed to pass the bill because the vote was only 9-9. This is a House bill. On July 15th, the bill was still in the House, and it would allow patients to end their lives, but only under specific conditions. Now Governor Carney has to decide if he'll sign the bill or not. The bill passed the Senate narrowly on June 20th. It originally failed in the Senate, but it was reconsidered. No word on whether or not the bill has yet been delivered to Carney, or if Carney will agree or disagree. He's an Irish Catholic, so people who don't like the bill are hoping he won't pass it, he won't sign it. We're also hearing that an Oregon Right to Life movement against euthanasia is urging Carney not to sign the bill. The bill would require patients to be under doctor's care and be aware of their decision to end their life.
We've been speaking with Susan Canfor. She's a reporter for Coastal Point. Appreciate you stopping by and chatting with us.
Thank you, Don.
You're listening to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush.
Delmarva Today with Don Rush.